morning, and welcome to our Winners Wednesday session where we interview top producers from all over the nation every single week. And I am very excited for today's session because some of you may recognize Abby from a previous session, but we're actually bringing her back on because we've got some very special news to announce. Abby Smith, all the way from Edmond, Oklahoma. Good morning.
Good morning, Micah. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. You too. And I say good morning, but I'm actually overseas, so it's nighttime here, but morning time for you guys. So, Abby, I'm really excited. As we were just kind of talking off the camera, Sarah had a great idea. Sarah Smith, that some of you may recognize her name as well. And she was like, we got to get Abby back on there. We've done a session with her before. She's absolutely an amazing rock star agent, as many of you know. But the reason we wanted to bring her back on is not only is she an amazing rock star agent, but she's also a mom and she just had another baby. And how many closings did you have the month that you had Asher?
Asher was born the month of Thanksgiving, and that month I had 5 closings.
5 closings. That's crazy. So I really want to kind of talk about it and just kind of as a follow up. First off, for maybe people that are watching this that missed your first session, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself, how you got into real estate, how long you've been in real estate, and also obviously you're in the top 1% as an icon with EXP as well.
Yeah, I got into real estate in 2013. I was new to Oklahoma, so I felt like I didn't have a circle. I started from nothing. Um, I got into it for the flexibility that you get as a mom, because at that time I had a 2-month-old. That was my first baby. So, and I got licensed in October. It took me a few months to get the ball rolling. I think it was February when I had my first closing. Um, and so it's been a little over 10 years. The first in 3 years with EXP. Since I joined EXP, my business, and that was COVID time, I think, my business exploded. I just feel like there's not a model out there better for me as a mom, because you get to be part of something without having to be there in person. And so you get to be there for your children as much as you want to be. And so I feel like my priorities as a mom and as a realtor were in line with the model at EXP.
I love that. So what would you say has been the key to your success? I mean, moving to a town, not knowing anyone, getting into a new industry, and then quickly becoming an icon agent within the EXP model. What would you say has been the number one key to your success?
Um, I think that my why, which is my family, my kids, are a big reason why I've been successful. It gives me the motivation um, that you would need to wake up, because it's not always easy.
Right.
And also just making it about helping people. And it's been just really rewarding being able to see people achieve something that sometimes they've been working on for many, many years. Sometimes they're working on their credit, or they just have it's really rewarding to be a part of something so big
That's
for
awesome.
people.
Well, I love that you mentioned why, because I always say that Tony Robbins talks about your why has to make you cry. So it can't just be, I want to make $100,000 a year. I want to make $200,000 a year. That's got no emotional attachment to it. So you mentioned your family, and I think kind of we were talking off camera a little bit with your 5 closings. I was like, how did that happen? And you said that having the baby was kind of that extra push and motivation that you need. So let's kind of talk about that. How are you juggling now, already having kids, already having a family and being a mom, now having another newborn and still maintaining that level of production? How do you do it?
I think it really comes down to, you have to get organized. So, what that means is kind of communicating and leaning on your support system, whoever that is. For me, it was my husband. And like, now that I think about it, I used to sell 12 houses a year before I came to EXP, 11 or 12 every year for about 7 or 8 years in a row.
Wow.
But after coming to EXP, my business doubled and tripled. So I went from like 11 or 12 to 25, then 35.
That's
And
incredible. Single agent, that's amazing.
it's yeah, it was a lot of hard work. It's not as easy as it sounds. And having kids, I have to admit that it's a struggle. It's exhausting, but it's very rewarding.
Right, right. So what
Uh,
would you say has been the key to be able to double and triple your business over the last few years?
okay, so my husband started working from home. So that
Mhm.
was a huge help. That's when my business started growing more than before because I was able to communicate. There was times where he wasn't able to stay with the kids or so I really feel like you have to have a plan A or B. Plan A, my husband takes care of it. If he's not available, then I found close to home, I found a daycare that charges by the hour because I
Mhm.
don't feel like I always need full-time daycare.
Sure.
So having that plan B or sometimes plan C to be able to be there for your clients when they need it. And then just also having like a flex schedule, but having it be flexible, like a floating schedule, like
Mhm.
always being able to put your clients' needs first because buying a house is a very emotional process for people. And if you don't give them answers right away, or if they don't see the house right away, where they feel like this is the one, I'm going to lose out on my dream house and it's never going to, nothing like that's going to happen again. So making them a priority with that flexible schedule and leaning on your support and really um, like with James, I started adding even our children appointments. I added to our calendar, and I'll add him to it, and so he accepts. And so even if I didn't speak to him, he gets a notification like this is what our plan is for today, or
Oh,
um,
that's great. So family calendar?
well, I've mixed it with business.
Right, right.
Yes,
Great. And so do you just use like a Google Calendar or
exactly. The Google
yeah,
Calendar.
that's great. Yeah, I've got mine all color coded as well. Real estate, kids, family, restaurant, just all different things. So there's all different kinds of
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah, putting it on there, it makes a difference to where you don't miss and okay, so my child has a doctor's appointment on Thursday at 1 p.m. and it's important for both of us. So that way you can still schedule the rest of your day for your clients or whatever it is that your priority is for that day, but that becomes an appointment too.
Absolutely. So let's kind of talk about like being home and your spouse is working from home, you're working from home, you have kids at home. How do you juggle that? Because I know a lot of people find working from home as a distraction. I'm kind of like you. I see it as an added benefit. Hamudi and I always kind of took turns watching the kids as well. So, how do you kind of get away from it being a distraction and actually a benefit to your business and your family life?
For me, I think it made me and it has made me more productive because you're able to focus on whether it's the paperwork, which is the boring part, or uploading things to skyslope. But if I was at an office with my colleagues or my friends, then we're going to start talking and not focusing on the clients, on the paperwork, on the things that really need the attention.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree more. I actually used to have an office, and I actually, not saying that office not a good thing. I know there's definitely agents out there that need an office, and that's okay. For me, I'm like you. It was actually more of a distraction than a benefit. Because when I work, I like to kind of put my blinders on and not have any distractions. So, um, I think it's kind of self discipline as well comes into play.
Yeah.
So besides that, like, these are times, especially with your husband working from home, like I hear, I'm on calls and Zooms with agents all the time, and they're like, my husband's in the other room, he's on a Zoom, I'm on a Zoom, the kids are in the background, it's just too much. Do you experience that, or have you really been able to kind of make sure everybody knows, when mom and dad are working, that it's time to, maybe some of the inside voices on, if you will?
Yeah. No, actually, when my kids knew that I was working and I had an important phone call, and I would like sometimes try to go hide in the closet, that's when they came after me the most. They went
Really?
in, they want the snacks, they want the candy, and they try to get things out of you because they know you're on the phone and you're just gonna say yes, yes, yes.
Smart
um,
kids.
So at some point, when I started selling more than 11 or 12 houses a month, I had to acknowledge that being at home with the kids completely was not efficient, and it was a struggle. So our 2-year-old foster son, we did put him in daycare, and it's been a huge help.
Right.
Now with
Right.
the newborn, he sleeps a lot right now. But at some point, we may need part-time daycare as well, or a Mother's Day out, which that's actually what I did with my first 2 kids 8 years ago. There's been a big gap from the time my other 2 were born to this one. So, with the other 2, I did Mother's Day out, and that's how I used to, get things done before. But now we do have daycare for the 2-year-old because terrible twos is a real thing. It gets really bad.
I mean, it's terrible 2s and 3s. I think it goes to oops, sorry, let me put my phone on silent here.
Mhm.
It goes all the way to 3s. I'm not convinced it stops at 2.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, but I do think when kids grow up in an environment where, mom and dad are entrepreneurs and they're working from home, you probably see this with your older kids that as they get older, they really appreciate it and they start to become part of the business and they understand when you're on a call or you're on a Zoom and things like that. So it's just getting them to that threshold.
It definitely gets better. It's temporary. And at the
Right.
same time, it is so temporary that you get your children. I feel like there's a 5 or 10-year period where to your children, you're the most important person in the room, and that changes over time. So that's why I always keep that a priority in my mind. Like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be the first person in line for their sports or not to miss anything that has to do with them. Um, and it's the reason why I'm so motivated to sell more than 10 houses a year,
Right.
to to do more. Yeah.
Well, I love that you're mentioning that it's really important that you go to every single doctor appointment, every single game, so you're still able to juggle and be that priority in their lives. So, maybe somebody that's thinking about starting a family or they just had a newborn themselves. What advice do you have, not just for working moms, working dads too? You mentioned the schedule. What other advice do you have to really be able to maintain and be successful at both?
I think that communication really um, is what lets you have a successful real estate career because it is a relationship business. So if at some point your babysitter cancels, or um, chances are you have a relationship with that client to where you can tell them, hey, I'm going to have my baby today for showings. We're looking at 3 houses. I just want to give you a heads up. And if you have any kind of relationship with them, they're going to understand. They're mostly worried about getting into the house at the time that they need to see it. So
Exactly.
if you have a baby and you have an emergency, I would um, I would say bring your child. Just do it, but communicate it. I think
Right.
that the most professional thing you can do is communicate with your client what you're going through, and they're going to appreciate all the work that you're putting in. And in my experience, when I didn't have a babysitter, because before my husband sold insurance and worked from home, he worked in the oil field 16 hours a day. So there was times that I had no help. I had nothing else that I could do.
Mhm.
And a lot of my clients were actually his coworkers that worked in the oil field, and they were actually happy and excited to meet our kids. So it wasn't a negative thing. It's not something that should stop anyone from building a successful career.
Right, right. No, absolutely. I mean, I know when my kids were little, there were times you didn't have a choice, and same thing, had to take them to
Mhm.
trainings or showings. I think one time I had him on Salim on the baby Bajourn that you would put on your chest, and I was like crawling around measuring a room. So, but I like that you said that as long as you communicate it correctly, and you don't not just surprise and show up with a baby. Most people are understanding, and like you said, their priority is to get in the home, especially if it's a hot listing, to get in there, immediately. And so, I find that most people don't have a problem with it. And it makes you human. It makes you real, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So we talked about communication, schedule. Um, how are you like actively prospecting? So you talked about having 5 closings the month that your baby was born. How are you able to still actively prospect for new business? Now with, you did say he was sleeping, so maybe you're getting in some prospecting hours, but that may change in a little bit.
Mhm. Prospecting. Some of it is social media. More than half of my business has been repeat business or referrals from
Right.
clients. So there's great emphasis on word of mouth for my business. But there's still social media and posting all your successes in real estate, which sometimes can seem repetitive, is important. At least 1 or 2 of my closings per year have been referrals from out of state agents, and they just found me
Wow.
on either Instagram. One of them was TikTok. I'm not sure if they found the Facebook or not, but I do run ads on Facebook, and so that helps sometimes. But really, majority of my business is word of mouth.
That's
And
all.
also for any agent, new or established, I would say it's extremely important to register your business on all the platforms that are like Zillow, Realtor.com, have a Google page, have a platform where you're going to collect your reviews because people do read the reviews and it
Right.
helps build trust. So, um, I have received multiple leads every year from Zillow, and I don't pay for marketing on Zillow.
Hmm.
So it's important to register even if you're not going to pay for those leads. I don't know how they find me or why they send me those leads, but they do.
That's awesome. Well, I like that you mentioned, social media and Google and really utilizing all the different platforms because I think that's really important, especially as you're working from home and maybe don't have the time to go door knock or do open houses or really the face-to-face kind of prospecting. There are
Mhm.
alternatives, but you have to make sure that you're doing that. And then, of course, building that referral base is incredibly important, which I think is, really cool that you've done that over the last handful of years, like you said, coming to a new market, raising a family, and getting into a new industry, you've already created a repeat business. That's absolutely incredible. That's great.
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing. I don't take it for granted.
Well, I know you and James, you guys are a power couple. You mentioned that he sells insurance as well. So I always love to see when spouses, work together in some regard. And I know that you guys support one another. So I'm sure that that plays a role into both of your success as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, great. Well, anything else that you would like to share maybe that we didn't cover today?
Um, I think I just want to share about self-care. It's very important. If you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't at the best of your ability take care of other people and their needs.
Right.
So
That's
that's
awesome.
the last thing.
So do you just kind of dedicate certain time every day for the self-care, or how is that kind of
So
priority?
so with James, we when we have time and my baby, my 2-year-old baby is at daycare, we do a lunch while the kids are at school once a week,
Nice.
at least once a week. So we'll take that time. And then also I think it just comes down to doing whatever makes you happy. If it's taking a really long shower or having a girls' day or girls' night, um, but really just reading a book, whatever makes you happy, you have to make time for it. Otherwise, you it gets stressful.
No, absolutely. And I think a lot of times, as women and entrepreneurs, we tend to put ourselves on the back burner. So I really do appreciate you mentioning that, Abby, because I think, like you said, you can't take care of other people if you're not taking care of yourself first.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's great. So for agents watching this, whether it be live or a replay, and they're interested, because I know that you're starting to expand and bring on agents and build out a team as well all over the country, what is the best way for agents to reach out to you?
Uh, my cell phone, call or text.
Awesome. Do you
I
mind sharing the number?
answer. Yeah, it's the phone number is 405-905-6222.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Abby. I know that you're super busy, so we appreciate you being on here a second time and really kind of giving us an update on you, on your life, on your success. And I can't wait to see your continued success.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I
Thank
love
you.
seeing your successes.
Thank you. You guys are a great support, so we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Bye.